Well, India and Denmark had a virtual summit on Monday. Both the prime ministers met virtually, and this is for the fourth time that Indian Prime Minister had a virtual summit with his counterpart anywhere in the world amidst the COVID pandemic. But for the first time, any European country standalone summit happened. With me is the Denmark's envoy to India. So welcome to WION. My first question and obvious question is, one of the key outcome is the green strategic partnership. This is perhaps for the first time the green strategic partnership has been agreed between India and Denmark, or perhaps anywhere in the world. What is green strategic partnership, if you can explain, and how does it benefits both India and Denmark?
Thank you very much indeed. As you said, there was the first virtual summit between India and any European country. We had a specific agenda, and that was really to launch the Green Strategic Partnership. Early on, Prime Minister Modi made it very clear that India has the scale. You are 1.3, 1.4 billion inhabitants. You have to develop your country and so forth. Denmark has the skills. We also said it, and we say that India also has skills, but we need to add speed to it. And yesterday it also was said we need scope. So Green Strategic Partnership is a way of focusing on every kind of cooperation that will improve the situation vis-a-vis the climate changes, vis-a-vis all the issues related to border, energy, food processing, and so forth. And Denmark has really cutting-edge skills and competences in these areas. So that's why we have been working on really this Green Strategic Partnership. And for India, India has its own trajectory. It's seeking through the missions of your Honorable Prime Minister to change the daily life of Indians. And we think in this context that the missions like Tap Water, Jal Jeevan mission and so forth, doubling of the farmers' income, that we can play a role. And this is 1.4 billion people kind of entering into a relationship with 6 million Danes. So we are very proud of that, but it's, as Prime Minister Modi put it yesterday, is an agreement, partnership of the new age. And this will also create jobs in India. Many Danish companies are ready, and they stand ready to invest even more in India to secure the green transformation. So that's basically what it's about. It's about shaping the future. So we are moving from greener, greenest kind of attitude. And as your Prime Minister the other day said in his speech to the United Nations General Assembly, you need to reform, you need to perform, and you need to transform. And I think what we have agreed yesterday is really following that mantra. So we are very, very happy, extremely happy.
You talked about the green partnership and the partnership of a new age. Something that matters today is fight against climate change, a joint fight against climate change. India has started the International Solar Alliance. You are set to join the International Solar Alliance. What are the advantages you see in the International Solar Alliance, and how can Denmark help in making sure that this alliance can be something that can change the world or help in the fight against climate change?
I think we have to take note of the fact that whatever we try to do globally on climate change, nothing will be successful without India being part of it. So India has to be part of the equation, whatever we are doing. So in that context, of course, the International Solar Alliance, which is one of the most important projects launched by the Modi government, is a very, very important stepstone for really changing the energy mix, but also to secure that the green mindset is coming to all of us. And we are ready to join. Our Prime Minister gave her commitment yesterday, so now all the procedural and preparatory works are in place and being done. So we are very happy to be able to join that. But we also have to take into consideration that Danish experiences across the world is that we are very, very good at wind energy, onshore as well as offshore. And we see a huge potential for India, also given the very ambitious objectives outlined by this Indian government, that we will be ready. We have the technology, we have the money, the financial system in place to secure that India could become a kind of global hub for onshore and offshore wind turbine productions and manufacturing here. So we are really connecting here. We are connecting in a green way, and that's about the future.
So, in the initial statement, the Indian Prime Minister talked about supply chain resilience. He talked about how Australia, Japan, and India are coming together. How can Denmark be part of this supply chain? How do you see this proposal? And of course, he did not mention China, but his focus was on how, amidst the COVID crisis, supply chains, the dynamics will change considerably. So, what's your view, and how can you be a part of this entire alliance?
First and foremost, let me say a few words about COVID-19. It was discussed yesterday, and both prime ministers agreed that we need to find global solution to this pandemic, knowing that it will not be the last one. I think we all have learned our lessons, and we need to be much more resilient in the way in which we are tackling some issues related to COVID-19 or other pandemics. They called for a strong multilateral cooperation in that field. Then, of course, they also took note of the fact that pandemics like the COVID-19 will and has had a very negative impact on the global economy. And in that perspective, I think we all realize that the traditional global supply chains are put at risk, and therefore you need to reduce the risk, and companies are very keen on reducing that. And naturally, India comes in as a kind of alternative, and India is very vocal about that, and we saw the Japan, Australian, and Indian initiative, and I think that's something at least we are ready to consider. It's not seen as a kind of reaction to a specific country. This is about securing that the global economy and all the benefits from global economy will come to all of us. Nobody can live without a global economy, and therefore I'm also extremely happy that the two prime ministers also agreed that the comprehensive free trade and investment protection agreement between India and EU should be finalized as soon as possible. So that's really something that we have to look into. So instead of focusing on what went wrong, I think it's important to take benefit of how we can change things, how we can build up alternatives. That will benefit the whole world, and will benefit India and Denmark and Europe and so forth. So that's how I see it.
So it was a pleasant surprise that India chose Denmark as the fourth country for the virtual summit. I mean, when it comes to European continent, it was the first country standalone summit. How do you see that India chose Denmark as the country to have this virtual summit, something which is a new format of diplomacy? Is it a sign of the growing importance between the two countries, or New Delhi focusing on making sure that Denmark can be a springboard when it comes to the larger European continent?
Of course, I think the Minister for External Affairs, Dr. Jaishankar, recently launched a book, and he spoke about very cleverly and smartly about the Indian way. And I think India has to reach out to different continents, different countries, and so forth. And of course, we are extremely happy that Delhi also thought about Denmark. It's something that we have been working on, and there are mutual interests on both sides. Denmark, even though we only have 6 million inhabitants, we are really punching well beyond that when it comes to green technologies and so forth. So I think in that context, there are benefits, mutual benefits for both parties. But of course, even though you're a big country, you also need to build up ties, strategic ties with smaller countries. And Denmark and India, we have our own history, but we also have a specific relationship to your Prime Minister, which is so important here. So we are extremely happy. Our Prime Minister was extremely happy, and you will see even more let's say, statements coming out the next couple of days in Denmark about the importance of this agreement.
So my last question to you, there are contentious issues as well. Kim Davy is something that was raised. If you can give us details, what was the exact commitment or perhaps assurance given by Denmark on this issue, something that has been talked here in Delhi for almost 2 decades now?
Yeah, I recall it myself. I was ambassador here from 10 to 15, and I also took a blunt of the negative outcome of this history or issue. The two prime ministers discussed it, and of course we took note of the strong interest on both sides to have this matter resolved, and authorities relevant for this kind of issues, they are looking into it. So the commitment is very, very clear. Let's get this cleared. But compared with how it was earlier, it's no longer the only point on the agenda. It's really, of course, an important point on the agenda of our bilateral relationships. But now we are moving forward, and the fact that India decided to enter into this green strategic partnership with Denmark is also significant and symbolizing that we also here to really to create a future. You can always you can dream of the past, you can live in the present, but you can also create a future. And I think what's happening and happened yesterday is really that we decided now to move into a future, and now we have taken our relationship far away from Kim Davy, and now we are really looking into how Denmark and India, how we can benefit, how we can, let's say, build up ties so we utilize the scale of India, the skills of India, the skills of Denmark. We are enlarging the scope, and then, of course, speed is also an important factor. So I think most importantly, we follow the mantra of your Honorable Prime Minister, reform, perform, and transform. So I think that's also what happened with the Indo-Danish relationship. So. Well, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, sir. So that was the Denmark's envoy speaking to WION about the new age partnership between the two countries. But interestingly, this year both the countries mark 400 years of establishment of ties. It will be marked later this year through virtual means. With video journalist Neeraj Patel, Siddhant Sibbal for WION in New Delhi.